all eyes in Arizona, certainly, and maybe around the country, are on the cases at Arizona DCS, the Department of Child Safety. And joining us to talk about that is Arizona Senator Carine Werner. Senator Werner, first of all, thank you for all your hard work on this.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on.
I know that you had a stakeholders meeting. You were guaranteed that changes were going to be made. A press release was out about some of those changes. Let's talk about what happened at the meeting and some of these changes. Where should we start with this? I'm going to let you take the lead on where we begin with this.
Okay, we'll do. So the meeting was very productive. In the room, we had 5 different tribes. We had group home staff. We had law enforcement, representation from county attorney, DCS, and multiple other stakeholders. And, I showed a video of Emily Pike to set the tone for the meeting because when you have children in group homes, they don't want to be there. The reason they are there was not because of something they did at the onset of put them on this path. And so it really set the tone to this is what we have to solve, and this is what we're here to solve. And there was really great communication. Everyone had an opportunity to speak, and the group home staff were fantastic. They really gave an insight into the day in the life of somebody who's in a group home. They talked about what their needs are and what changes they would like to see. And one of my big goals for the meeting was to have the tribes agree to an MOU with DCS and share information about the tribal children that are in care. That was a major breakdown with Emily Pike, is when she went into the DCS homes, they didn't know what had happened to her. There was no history on her because information was not shared at the time. So the tribes, all 5 tribes in the room, agreed to do this with DCS, along with providing information. And then the bonus on top of that was that law enforcement shared that they would like to have a face sheet on children in group homes. So when they run away, they get a sheet with their picture, their history, who their family members are, and then possibilities of where they could go, and that would be very helpful for them. So that part was a big win-win overall from the meeting, and it was one of the things that we came out of it.
So with the guaranteed changes that are going to be made, how quickly can the changes be made in your mind? Are these things that can be done very quickly? Are you sure? Is there going to be some kind of oversight of them actually happening?
Yes. So that change can happen very quickly. And then DCS came out very shortly after with 5 things that they're taking action on immediately. And again, this is policy changes and rule changes, so it's not something that requires legislative action, and we can do them immediately. Changing the time frame of when a group home must notify DCS and PD when a child runs away. That is one of the rule changes they're making. This was also a request that came out of the meeting was provide to law enforcement the locations of group homes within that district so that they can drive by, stop in, form relationships with the children in care, and really become more of a camaraderie than them being the bad guys.
Yeah, relationship for resources.
Yes. So that was very, very positive. And going back to them getting the face sheet so that they have a little more information to go on when they are looking for a child. And also the tribes that were there called for all the other tribes to join them in doing MOUs with DCS. And I think that was fantastic because it can really help the tribal children that are in DCS homes.
Let me ask about DCS for a moment because, what's happened with this is this spotlight is all of a sudden on DCS, that it's a failing agency. I would imagine that the majority of people at DCS are doing a good job and are, feel horrible that this has happened. In your dealing with DCS, do you feel that DCS is responding appropriately to the requests and the questions you're making and the changes that you want? Are they responding in the right way?
So far they have. They've been very cooperative and provided information immediately. They've had an open door policy. Myself and one of my staffers went and had a tour of the hotline room. And what we learned was that when a call comes in and the employee that's taking that call doesn't have easy access to see the entire file of that child. So let's talk about Rebekah Baptiste. She had 12 calls from her school and only 1 met the threshold for taking action. And if that employee could have just clicked on one button and had the drop down and seen her entire history along with the 11 other calls and the calls of that of her sibling, I think the decision making would have been very, very different.
So if they'd been able to see how many times calls have been made.
Yes.
So the analogy, I guess, my analogy would be if a police officer in a patrol car looks at a record of somebody that they're running their driver's license. If all they have in there is a conviction versus all of the times they've been arrested or contacted, it gives you a different context of who you're dealing with.
That's exactly right. And we want to see that change with DCS so they have the same type of program where you can see the entire history, because it will help make decisions, the employees make decisions better. And on that also, we have to look at, we're looking at the decision-making tool that they use, and we want to ensure that the questions are broader and more open-ended so that it can capture what is really happening, and again, so that they can take action when that's needed, when a child is in need.
There are a lot of people justifiably asking, how did this happen? And I know you're looking into this. Everyone's looking into how each of these cases, how they happened. Are there any answers to how these things happen that are leading to some of these changes, or is it too early to be able to tell exactly how some of this happened?
Well, with Rebekah Baptiste is absolutely an example of where we can make effective change immediately related to the hotline tools. Rebekah Baptiste and Zariah Dodds, there was a moment in time where there was a decision to take them out of a foster home and go back to their parents. And there was a little bit of a difference between the two, because Rebekah was being moved out, but there was a decision between putting her in a different foster home or with her father. And the decision was to put her with her father. Same with Zariah Dodds, she went with her parents. And we need to know who made that decision. Were they following the rule and statute? And if they were, then we need to look at what that was and how such a horrible decision was made based upon what was there. And if they broke the law, then they should be fired. And see,
and that's I think a lot of people have the question is, if they are following policy and rules, then how do you change the bad policy and bad rules? If they weren't, then you're right. They should be held accountable for not following policy and rules.
Yes.
So then the last question is about funding, and maybe this is a longer-term question. A lot of people have been saying there's one side that says there's a big budget at DCS, but are they properly managing it? The other is asking the question, is DCS properly funded? Have you come to is there a conclusion on that, or is that something else you're looking at?
We are looking at that. And when you look at the average caseworker, they cap out at $54,000 a year. And they also stay about 2 years, and then they go on to something else.
There's got to be a high burnout rate.
It is. And you have 15% of the staff at DCS that have been there for more than 5 years. And by the time you've worked there 2 years, now you have confidence, you have experience. And so we want to look at how do we extend their time there and keep them passionate about their work and where it's rewarding and fulfilling, because they do hard things and they're treated poorly. And so, just with the things that they have to do. And so there will be a very serious discussion on funding for that, and it's something that we have to do.
And is there, with your colleagues in the legislature, is that something that they're willing to look at? When you've got negative things being said about an agency, it makes it more difficult to say we need to spend more money in an agency. But if you bring them the data, is that something you think that they'll entertain?
I absolutely believe that everyone will entertain this. It's pretty hard to say no to saving kids' lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's done the right way, I don't think there's anybody on either side of the political aisle, voter or elected official, that would say that we shouldn't do it for the kids.
Absolutely.
Senator, I appreciate the time today coming all the way down here for this. This is something everyone in Arizona has been so concerned about. And again, thank you so much for your hard work on this. I know you've been leading this charge for quite a while, and I think you deserve a ton of credit for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.